Episode 9 of Pluribus gave us a great finale to Season 1, and now we look ahead to multiple things going into Season 2. How will Carol and Manousos work together against the Hive Mind? Will they even get along? Will Carol reconnect at all with Zosia? Will Carol and Manousos meet the other non-English Unjoined? And what plan do I think they have to disrupt the others? With all of these questions, it will be interesting to see what route they do go in with a Season 2, and based on what we saw at the end of Season 1, I think we're going to get some big surprises and a lot of answers to our burning questions. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing my predictions and theories for Pluribus Season 2. Before I get into it though, if you want to see much more content on Vince Gilligan's Pluribus series, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my predictions and theories for Pluribus Season 2. So the Season 1 finale of Pluribus wrapped up its first arc with a blend of shock, emotional complexity, and an unmistakable narrative pivot that leaves the story wide open rather than neatly resolved. After months of watching the alien joining transform nearly all of humanity into a peaceful, hive-minded collective, Carol Sturcker finds herself torn between resistance and a surprising, intimate connection with Zosia. What begins as a seemingly idyllic retreat with Zosia ultimately fractures when Carol learns that the others have found a way to use her frozen eggs to derive stem cells and forcibly include her in the hive even without her consent. And they also gave her a projected window of about 1 to 3 months before this process can succeed. The revelation shatters any lingering fantasy that the Hive's version of harmony is benign and forces Carol to reject Zosia and return to her reality in Albuquerque. There she reunites with Manousos, another immune survivor who has been tirelessly investigating anomalies that might hold the key to undoing the joining. And together they must solemnly decide that they must save the world. The finale's final images of Carol arriving with a mysterious large crate that she ominously identifies as an atom bomb crystallizes all the stakes. Neither mutation nor assimilation has been halted, and the tools and moral quandaries for resistance are only just beginning to take shape. Rather than revealing her precise intent with the bomb, or if it is a bomb at all, the show ends on that cliffhanger, underscoring that Season 1's journey has been more about realizing the problem than solving it. And it propels the narrative towards far wider, uncertain terrain come Season 2. This ending not only deepens the mystery of how Carol and Manousos might confront the Hive and reverse the joining, but it also hints at exploring the origins of the signal, the ethical quarrel of resistance, and the complicated human ties that persist even in a post-joining world, setting up a dramatically charged continuation of the whole story. So based on what happened at the end of Season 1, what can I now see formulate come Season 2? Well, the first thing is quite unexpected, but I think it is ultimately a part of the building blocks in the forming of Carol, Manousos, and their resistance. To begin with, I see her and Manousos struggling to work together, and particularly I think Manousos is going to question Carol quite a bit because of her affection for Zosia. While Season 1 ended with Carol leaving Zosia because of the whole freezing her eggs plot, I don't think that means that she won't see Zosia again or not feel affection for her. They've established their relationship as a key anchor in Season 1, and I think it's going to take more twists and turns before it gets anywhere near being conclusive, whether that be in either direction. While I think he'll have problems with Carol, eventually I think Manousos is going to suggest using Zosia as part of their plan to disrupt the Hive Mind. And with this probably being the right move for their combined efforts, I think Carol is going to make the whole process more difficult. Maybe her built affection for Zosia makes her question whether turning her back to the Zosia she was before the joining is really the right thing to do. And maybe Manousos, as he should, gets frustrated by this, thinks that Carol is corrupted by the others, and worries about whether she can be trusted. I think just like we saw at the start of the Season 1 finale, Carol and Manousos are going to initially struggle in making their collaboration work. It's not just because of the crazy odds of those two versus an entire hive mind, but because personally, Carol continues to struggle in disconnecting her feelings for Zosia in favour of the mission with Manousos. So yeah, I do think for part of the next season that this idea is going to be built upon and becomes more complex between them. But moving on, in making a first move against the Hive, I think what Carol and Manousos' plan is to meet the other unjoined survivors, and in particular, the non-English survivors whom Carol didn't meet in season 1. Maybe they can find out more from these people and use Carol's translator app in doing so. On top of this, I'm going to predict that these individuals react in a similar way to how the other unjoined were towards Carol back at the start of season 1. I think they'll be on board with eventually becoming a part of the Hive once they can be turned, and one by one come the end of season 2, I think they will be. But more importantly, what I think Manousos and Carol find out from a couple of these survivors is that in some of the areas they live, the electromagnetism is causing problems for the Hive near them. So much so that the joined don't spend too much time with them. In the penultimate episode of season 1, Zosia mentioned electromagnetism, and some of us had a theory that Carol and Manousos would eventually take Zosia to a certain place where this could be a problem for the Hive, disconnecting her from them. Zosia mentioned some of these individuals to Carol, and something I noticed with a bit of extended research is that 2 of them live in areas that could be affected by electromagnetism. This includes Sidor Melis from Sardinia, and when looking into that location, while Sardinia isn't inherently low in natural electromagnetism, it is known to house a site for advanced low-frequency astronomy with the SAD project or Einstein telescope. And this is due to its stable and quiet geological structure and remote areas. Apparently, they've aimed to minimise artificial electromagnetic noise for sensitive instruments, with grid updates also using low EMP pylons. Another of the 6 non-English unjoineds that stood out to me was Mary Akintola from Maseru Lesotho. This is an area that has less access to electricity, and the communications authority there ensures minimal interference, managing radio frequency spectrums quite a lot. So yes, I think it could act as gained knowledge for Carol and Manousos in their fight to reverse the joining. And it could also help in keeping Carol grounded in knowing that she and Manousos are learning some potentially big things that could aid their fight for individuality. The other thing that could keep Carol in line with her mission for individuality though would likely be because of the next moves the others make. And I think that these might be more aggressive and disturbing than they were previously. The first of these is that I think the others will convert the remaining unjoined we've met one by one, including both Lakshmi and Kumba. I think both of these characters are going to have bigger roles come season 2, especially after how they kept showing up from time to time in season 1, even after their initial contact with Carol. To start with, I think Carol and Manousos will meet up with them to tell them what they have found out in a last effort of convincing them to fight alongside them. My guess is that they take a hell of a lot of convincing though, but that they do start to see where Carol and Manousos might be coming from. And while they do start to make progress with the both of them, I think the Hive becomes more aggressive here. I'm going to guess that in showing Kumba be turned, this will be a moment that truly pushes us in the direction of the Hive being benevolent. Kumba said to Carol before she left Las Vegas that he didn't want to join and preferred to keep his individuality, even though he does like the others. But because he's surrounded by the Hive constantly, I think this also makes him one of the easier targets to turn. So I think we're going to see that in some way, shape or form. And I think the same will happen with Lakshmi. By doing this to 2 people Carol and Manousos thought they may have persuaded a bit to join them against the Hive, it would be a move by the Hive that would make it feel like the walls are closing in on both Carol and Manousos. And the other move that I see the Hive making is a lot more twisted, and that is something that acts as a last ditch attempt with Carol by using her frozen eggs. Previously in season 1, we learnt that Carol had frozen her eggs, and it got us wondering whether this would be something that comes back, and whether the Hive would use them to gain her stem cells. In the finale, Zosia revealed that they would turn her in about 1 to 3 months using the access to them. And at the very end, it seems as though Carol has threatened the Hive using an atom bomb to stop them from potentially doing so. So that could be one angle that she's taking. But in knowing that the Hive has access to her eggs, I think they might use them in a different way. Staying with my theory from my video on episode 8, I'm going to predict that because the Hive can't change her due to her threats, they use Carol's eggs to make Zosia pregnant. I think in doing so, this might connect back to her wanting a child with Helen, and it could be a last-ditch attempt from the others to bring Carol around. With Zosia being pregnant using her eggs and someone she does truly like, that could be something that disrupts Carol. If this is a route they take, I think it will be something towards the later part of the season, and I think it acts as something that pushes Carol and Manousos to make a bigger move against the Hive mind. But before that big move happens, there's something else that I think does happen, and I think it leaves Carol and Manousos in a bit of a dire situation. I think Carol and Manousos have to put aside their struggles as they find out that they are the final 2 unjoined survivors. I do think that Kumba, Lakshmi and the other survivors, including the non-English ones that they meet, all get turned by the season 2 finale using individual methods with their stem cells. But if this does happen, you may ask, well, how does the show get more interesting from this moment with there being only 2 people unjoined left? Well, the theory some of us had before of Carol and Manousos potentially removing Zosia from the Hive mind, whether that is temporarily or permanently, is something that I do think will happen by the very end of season 2. I think that using the knowledge of the radio frequencies, the electromagnetism info, and what Manousos potentially nearly achieved in the season 1 finale allows them to eventually turn Zosia by the finale of season 2. Whether that is temporary to learn more about disconnecting them, or permanent, could be a point of debate or an open-ended question come the very end of the second season. So essentially, I think we'd end season 2 with the Hive having joined everyone minus Carol and Manousos, but then the both of them potentially hit back by converting Zosia. But they were my thoughts and predictions for Pluribus season 2. I can't wait for the next season to finally be here, but based on what Gilligan and co have said recently, it seems like we're going to be waiting around 2 years for it to arrive. Still, it will be interesting to see where the show leads us and what the long-term trajectory is from a storytelling and character perspective. I think we'll get some big reveals in season 2, and I can't wait to see where it all goes next with both Carol, Manousos and Zosia. But what are your predictions and theories surrounding what happens in season 2 of Pluribus? Let me know down below in the comment section. For much more videos on Vince Gilligan's Pluribus, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.